reporting for TTN-HD Production Live, here with actor, comedian, author WAYNE FEDERMAN.
Yes.
What inspired you to get into the entertainment business?
Well, first of all, I just want to say it's great to be on HD, because I've been used to regular D for a long time, and so just to have it high and not regular it's thrilling for all of us here at this remarkable setting as I'm looking at a locker.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, thank you. So what was your question again?
What inspired you to get into the entertainment business?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question, Katie. It was, I don't know, I always was just, as a kid, was always drawn to, well, I'll tell you a story real quickly. When I was in the, second or third grade, the teacher had an assignment to do a book report. And she said, you can either do an oral book report or a written book report. And she asked the class, who wants to do written? And everyone in the class except myself and this other girl were like, we'd rather do written. And I was like, why would you even, to me it wasn't even a close question. Like, why would you do a written book report when you can stand up in front, make it up as you go along, not have to correct anything? It just seemed easy. So I just feel like maybe I was just one of those people that like to be in front of a lot of people, and I was always in plays. And then when I found out that a comedian was a job, I was like, that's the job I want. Like, I didn't even know that existed. Like, when they would talk about jobs, it'd be like fireman, this, businessman, doctor, lawyer, whatever. They never said, oh, and comedian. And then later, maybe in middle school, I found out that was a job. I was like, oh, I'd like to do this. And then a lot of teachers encouraged me, more than my parents.
And you're one of 6 children.
Yeah,
Do you think comedy was a way for you to stand out so that your parents would notice you?
That's a good question. I do think that is a good question. Now I'm going to start crying because you're talking about my family. Like when I was a little, there was 4 kids, and then my mom remarried, and there was 2 others. So I was like the youngest for a good chunk of my life. And I think a little bit of me wanting to, like we talked about earlier, like being on stage or being in front of the class or enjoying that attention was maybe fighting for my parents' attention. It's their fault. You have to deal with me. But I think maybe a little bit of that. Yeah, I would think so.
You've had hundreds of jobs. I've checked out your IMDb. You've tons and tons of credits. Has it been what you expected it to be?
Well, it's, to be honest, it's, I have very lofty dreams. I don't have to go into them now, and obviously I've fallen short on some of the bigger ones. I'm not out of it yet, but I remember writing in a program in high school. I was in a play called, I think it was called The Cave Dwellers by Soroyan. I'm not sure. You can double check that. And that you write your little bio, what you did. And in it I wrote, and this was in 9th grade, I just want a long career in show business. So in that sense, I've had that. I've been around for a while, longer than most people would hope, obviously. Been sticking around, and so yeah, so in that regard, but I still have lofty film and goals that I'm nowhere near reaching. So
what's the most rewarding part of your career?
Oh, besides this interview, besides TTN?
Yeah. I mean, this is pretty big.
This is pretty big.
Yeah.
TTN. The most rewarding part of my career, I have to say, is stand-up. Stand-up's my most rewarding part, just creatively. But then there's see, this is where it gets weird. There's other rewards, there's financial rewards that might not be as much in one area, and then there's ego awards. So you feel oh, I feel important, and that makes you feel good for a little bit until you look yourself in the mirror. But anyway, so there's but I would say most creative reward is stand-up. And for movies, the most ego. I love being part of movies just because I just think movies are the top of the entertainment business. I mean, outside of interviews on high-definition networks.
What have you learned from being an author?
Wow. Well, one thing I learned was that it took a long time, that I'm slower, I'm just a slow writer. That's what I learned. I thought I would be faster, and I'm not. I would read it, it'd be good, and then a couple days later I read it again, this needs to be rewritten.
You should have done those written book reports in school.
You're exactly right. I like the way you're thinking. It all started. That's the laziness.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I think there's a lot of truth to what you just said there. Yeah.
What advice would you give to aspiring comics, writers, actors?
Well, it would be different for each one. It would be different for each one. But my main advice, my main piece of advice that's served me, which I have not taken, but I've seen work, is the more specific the goal is you want, the easier it is to achieve. So if you're just like, hey, I want to be a famous actor, well, that's a pretty wide thing. But if you're like, hey, I want to be on the show Scrubs, or I know that's canceled now, but a show that's on television right now, that's a very specific goal. I want to be on Modern Family. There's only, one casting director. There's only 8 producers. There's only 20 writers. There's only a certain amount of people that can make that happen. And then if you focus on that, that can work. So let me give you an example. I opened for Jimmy Fallon, wrote for him for the first year on the show. But when he was starting out, his goal, this is what I'm talking about being specific, was to be on SNL. Like, that's all he wanted to do. To the point of when I met him here in LA, he had an opportunity to do a pilot for a sitcom, which is like a dream for a lot of actors. A dream, just to have that. And he said, I can do it, but I need an out because I'm auditioning for SNL in 3 weeks. Not doing SNL,
Yeah.
auditioning. Like, that's how focused he was on that goal, and he ultimately got on that show. But I just think that's great advice. And I want to compliment myself on my advice. I'm saying that it's great.
Did you enjoy writing and working with Jimmy Fallon? What was that like?
Well, he is easy to write for because he's ridiculously talented. Like, when I do stand-up, it's like it's me. It's this voice, this guy. Like, he can sing, he can do impressions, he can do characters, he can do anything. He's what they used to call in show business a natural. I don't know if you know that expression. Yeah, he's a natural. So he could do any of that stuff, and it was really easy to write for him. Easygoing guy, fun, funny, the whole thing.
Where's the best place to find more information on you online and to find out information about your shows as well, because you do stand-up?
Well, I've come up with this thing called a website. I don't know if you know what this is. It's on the World Wide Web, and it's myname.com. Not my name, WayneFederman.com. And there I usually list what's coming up. I'm pretty bad at promoting myself, to tell you the truth. Like, I more try to concentrate on doing a good job than on like, oh, how many people can I bring to this thing or something like that. But WayneFederman.com I think is the best place to go.
Are you on Twitter?
I am on Twitter, but I have a different angle on Twitter in that I try not to get followers.
Okay.
That's my angle. I try not to get people to follow me.
So you just don't do anything, basically?
No, I do. I tweet every once in a while. I'm a hesitant Twitterer. I'm a reluctant Twitterer.
Because everyone cares that much.
No, right, no one cares. Right. So I'm like, but I've actually gotten quite a bit of followers by telling people not to follow me. Like, that's my strategy. So if you're listening, do not follow me. @Federman is my thing. Do not. If you get too many, I'm going to shut the whole thing down. Okay. But yeah, I am on. But there's nothing I'm saying on Twitter that's like great. I promise. Like, follow somebody who really like concentrates on that.
So like what you have for breakfast, or?
I would never. I can't imagine. I can't imagine doing that. Like, just tweeting out what I do that. But that's just the way I am. I mean, I'd rather take the time it takes to write the Twitter thing to work on a screenplay or write a new joke or something like that. But a lot of comedians like just test out jokes on Twitter. Like, that's how they test them out. And if they get retweeted, it gets in the act. So it is a tool. I don't want to trash Twitter. I don't want that to be the headline of this whole interview, that he's the guy that took down Twitter. I just want to say, for me, it's not something I like to do, and I'm trying not to get Twitter followers, and it seems to be working getting them. So it's like an opposite effect.
Great. Well, thank you.
That can't be it. That's all you want to know. How long do these things usually last? Is it the right length?
Like 5 minutes.
I've gone over. I apologize. I'm sorry. Let's cut it down. Let's shut it down.
Okay.
This has been good.
This is good. Thank you so much, and best of luck with your upcoming projects. I'm Katie Uhlmann reporting for TTN-HD Production Live.